Hey folks, welcome back. So in this section of the course, we're going to use GitHub and Git when we are working with our deployment pipeline. And I wanted to provide some background on GitHub and Git, and I'm going to do this in 2 short lessons. And if you're very familiar with GitHub, you can just fast forward or click through the lesson very quickly just to make sure that you get a complete on this lesson as you're moving through the course. I'm going to click on my GitHub button. All right, now you may be a little bit surprised to know that GitHub and Git are not exactly the same thing. So what is Git? Git is a distributed version control system, free and open sourced, designed to handle everything from small to large projects, having a distributed architecture. Git is an example of a DVCS, Distributed Version Control System. I'm showing 4 local machines in the diagram. Could be 4, it could be 2, it could be 100. So in Git, every developer's working copy of the code is also a repository that can contain the full history of all changes. Now, a simplified explanation of this is that Git is the repository on the local machine, and then GitHub is a central repository located in the cloud. And you're going to do code pushes and pulls from GitHub and to GitHub. So GitHub is a website and cloud-based service that helps developers store and manage their code, as well as track and control changes to their code. So basically, GitHub offers a cloud-based Git repository hosting services. Makes it easier for individuals and teams to use Git for version control and collaboration. Now, the really nice thing about this is, okay, we have this central repository from which everyone can do their pushes and their pulls, pull down code, push up revisions. Let's say this goes down. Well, you have backups. You have backups locally in your Git repositories. Now, there are any number of version control tools out there, such as Subversion, CVS, Mercurial, but we're going to use GitHub and Git in the course, and I just wanted to touch on GitHub a bit. The sequence of events here is, let's say this developer is working on some code. The developer can pull down updates from Git. The developer can commit changes they made to Git. And we see the commit command here. Of course, all of these commands are available to all of your developers. They're just separated for spacing, and we'll touch on these shortly. But let's say the developer is completed and wants to push a new version. Well, then the push is from Git to the central repository, GitHub. Conversely, the developer is going to want to do a pull every once in a while to pull down everybody else's changes to Git, maybe once or twice a day. So to draw the distinction between Git and GitHub. All right, GitHub is our central repository. So it's typically on a remote server somewhere in the cloud, and it exclusively consists of a Git repository folder. And again, it's meant for your team to share and exchange their code. And then we have our local repository, Git. It's located on your developers' machines. And Git resides as a Git folder inside of your project's root. Some of the operations we can do are highlighted in the colored boxes, and the colored boxes just indicate the type of operation. So we're creating repositories. We could do Git init. For making changes, we can do a status, an add, a commit, parallel development. And why would you want to do this? Well, if you don't want to mess with production code, you can branch that code. and work on the branch. You can merge back. You can also rebase. So rebase integrates changes from one branch to another. Let's say you branch, you make changes, you've tested everything, you're good with it. You can integrate it back to another branch. And then we have the syncing commands. All right, so we have a pull, and as its name applies, you're pulling content from your remote central repository to your local repository. So you're basically updating your local repository. And then we have the push. It's just the opposite. You're developing, you're making changes, you've tested your changes locally, and you want to push those changes up to your central repository. You could be working together with another developer. And that's how you can keep in sync with your other developer. When your changes are ready, you push them up to GitHub. Shoot your coworker an instant message or whatever, and they can do a pull if they need that updated code. And if you're just starting out and you want to clone this repository, in other words, you're connecting to this repository so you can do pushes and pulls, you can use a add origin command and naming this repository to perform this clone. So in this lesson, we just took a look at GitHub and Git, which we're going to use in this section of the course, and a quick overview of some of the operations and commands that you can perform. And I'll have one more lesson on GitHub coming up next. And I'll just go to GitHub and walk through some of the things we can do with GitHub. So please join me in the next lesson.